You mute.
Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Debbie Perez Cockburn. I'm your host for our weekly webinar called SolleChanges Lives. And I will have some wonderful information for you at the end of our presentation. We usually have a testimonial, and today I'm calling for testimonials on the fly. So if I point to you, to your square here on our Brady Bunch screen, you might just want to share something about how Soul has changed your life. Okay. And I know Jaliva has an experience, and I know Joanne also has an experience and how Soul has helped her. So we usually start with a testimonial, but I'm going to give you time to think it through so that when I point to you, you can share your testimonial later. As usual, we have a product section, which is always hosted by one of Soul's founders, and he is the president and CEO of Soul. He is my dearest friend on earth. His name is Greg Halliday. We've known each other over 30 years. We worked together for quite a while at another company. It's how we know each other. Combined, we have almost 63 years of experience in the herbal business. To remind everyone who watches this or shares these recordings later, I am not a medical doctor. I do not dispense medical information. I do not treat diseases, and I don't provide any kind of medical information. What I do want to share with you every week, which we do on this webinar, is share great information about natural health, specifically how to use Soul Naturals products, which are an adaptogen-based line of products, which is all natural, all plant-based, and how it can really change your life. All of us here are here every week because we enjoy using Soul. We know how it has changed our lives, and that's our purpose and that's our mission. And so I welcome all of you who are new. We have a visitor with us this week. Her name is Gloria Reed. We're so happy to have Gloria. She is a guest of Jaliva, who is one of our newest specialists on our team. So we're happy to have her here. I'm always happy to see Joanne and Sherry, who are top leaders in our organization, and we just love having all of you. So for this week, I asked my friend Greg Halliday if he would talk to us about a product that I find very, very interesting. Like all of Soul's products, it's adaptogen based, but this product in particular, this formula, is quite complex. And because of the amount of ingredients in it, we're not going to talk about all of these today. I know that Greg has chosen to share some of Dr. Allison Caldwell-Andrews, who is our scientific director at the company at Soul. And she helps Blake Christensen in a lot of the formulation. And she's a great, great proponent of what we have in this product. So he's chosen to use her presentations that she has done on this, and this will be a great review for us. The reason I love this product and the reason I wanted to talk about it this week in particular is because it is a wonderful source. As Greg will show you, it's a great source of omega-3, 6, and 9. Really important because I think in today's society, people don't eat properly. And because we eat a lot of junk food or processed food and things like that, we have an overabundance of omega-6 in our diet, which isn't a bad thing, but it's processed differently and our body uses it differently, right? And so our body really enjoys the variety. I love that omega-3, 6, and 9 are in this formula, which makes it a very well-balanced formula for the body. I think when people think of AvantGreens, you think of the obvious. It's a green drink. How do I benefit from a green drink? What is it going to do for me? I have said many times before, our country is one of the wealthiest countries in the world and one of the poorest in nutrition because we are notorious for eating garbage. We are underhydrated. If the body doesn't have enough fluid, liquid water, and things that are important in that water, if we're not getting enough fiber in our diet, if we're not eating a lot of fresh food, then our bodies are not going to function the way they should. You all know that I love to talk about our 4-month approach to better health. You can do this all you want. If you're still eating junk food, it's going to take a little longer to work for you, right? You won't see the results that maybe you're looking for right away, With some people, it's different. Some people feel it right away. And then they go, oh, I feel so good. Now I'm motivated to change my diet. And then when they really hear about a product like AvantGreens, then we're even more motivated to help our body do its job. I love that this product can support not just the circulatory system, not just our structural system, not just our intestinal system, but it can also help support the liver. I don't think people think of the liver when we think of AvantGreens. The liver and the gallbladder are vital to our existence. And so I love the presentation that Greg has chosen to share with us this week. And so Greg, welcome. I love that you're going to be refreshing our minds on the benefits and the, I want to say the amazing health goals that can be set and achieved with AvantGreens.
Thanks, Deb. And hello, everybody. Good to see you. My week is complete because I've seen Joanne. All I need to see is Joanne and Sharon. Just that nice smile just makes me feel good.
That goes two ways.
Thank you. Just so you know, Jaliva, I've known Joanne for lots and lots and lots of years. So we are longtime friends. And yeah,
Yes.
Deb and I, we're like brother and sister. That's kind of how I describe Deb. So if you can make me co-host, Deb, I'll show some slides.
I think I did, but let me check again.
You made Jaliva co-host.
Oh,
Jaliva, you can share whatever you want. She just
Oh.
made you. She just made you. So I've done that before too.
Oh.
It's like you'll slide your cursor
Yes.
and it's still on the other person.
See, that's
Yeah.
what happens when you've known your sister for 30 some odd years. In case you don't know, I am the older one of the two.
Oh, barely. Yeah.
No, not barely. I think you're like 4 years younger than me. But anyway, I
that's
wanted
barely.
to take a quick second and welcome Sarah Wicks, who's with us. We missed her last week and we're happy Sarah's on. And I know she switched off her screen and I'm so happy that Sarah's here. Okay, go ahead, Greg.
You betcha. Nice to meet you, Sarah. And also Gloria. Gloria, Jaliva, you invited Gloria. Hopefully she will find, Gloria, you'll find some good nuggets in here. I get some every time because this is a presentation. This is a training that Dr. Allison Caldwell-Andrews put together, and she gave it in 3 parts. So we're just going to do 1 part today because honestly, it's really complete. So she's a clinical psychologist, such an interesting story, who's also an herbalist. And she did a postdoctorate at Yale and spent time studying the effects of stress on preoperative health for women and children. She had a particular, she's had several grants, done a lot of research, and also adjudicated articles that go into some of the pretty famous healthcare magazines that you would have heard of. And so she has been around pretty much every way in which things are studied and tested. And she's just maintained that heart of a student. And that's what we hope we do. We hope we're always learning because we feel like we've scratched the surface of these wonderful plants. We understand so much more than we used to about them. Our experiences give us the most valuable understanding, I think, our shared experiences. And then when we see more and when science gives us more, to me, it helps kind of point our minds toward people we can help. Honestly, that's how I look at it. And ways we can help ourselves, because we got to help ourselves. We want to help somebody else, right? It's kind of an ongoing challenge because none of us are perfect in the way we eat and live and schedule ourselves, and we just do our best, right? So let's go to this lesson number 1 on AvantGreens from Dr. Allison. She's quite the amazing person. And when she teaches this, she teaches it as a formula like this because it has high amount of macronutrients and greater quantities of things that we need every day. We've got to restore in our bank because we're going to always use them up. This is something that is non-specific. It's a change everything formula. And I'll tell you, even though it's non-specific in that way, there are some superpowers it has. Debbie mentioned one, your liver. both cleaning it and protecting it. But I'd say another superpower it has is your stress response. That's because of the adaptogens. It has 3 of them in there. And then I think I'll let the presentation, see if you can pull out the other superpowers of this formula to say it that way. So this is Allison. She says, what is it that creates healthiness? You could break it down to our ability to receive and absorb nutrients. Because we can eat them and not absorb them, right? We can eat them and block the normal processes of digestion because of intense stress or some other stressor that comes into our life physically or emotionally, and it can shut those down or almost, shut down those processes. We also have to have a clean functioning gut. It's got to be able to receive and also move out what needs to move out. And if we don't eat foods that are dense nowadays, it's going to be really hard to stay caught up, to much less to heal something that's bothering us, because to heal something, our philosophy is match the nutrition with the need for the day and a little. And if you've got a little beyond that and the body can do something with it and improve something. I know that's a really simplistic philosophy, but over time, it's one that I just deeply believe. It does simplify it for most of us. So that's the first thing. The second thing Dr. Allison says is how well we fend off illness is another key factor. How does our immune system operate and the lymphatic system? And how well do we detoxify? The body's already built, created to do that in very many different ways. But how efficient are we? And does it even happen? And sometimes is it happening, very much at all? Third thing, and this is the last point, how well that we transform those nutrients into energy. And then she says peak functioning, and I think she's just saying be in balance. When we're in balance, things, they do what they're supposed to do. When the pancreas secretes enzymes, it's plenty. When it produces insulin, it balances sugars and the cells aren't resistant to it. They receive it. And all those things function the way they're supposed to. Peak functioning to me is balanced functioning. So that's what she talks about. That's how she sets the stage for this particular product. In other words, the way she teaches AvantGreens is these 3 aspects are what it really has as strengths in addressing, and she'll show us why. So jumping into, well, I guess this is one other point to this non-specific approach. This isn't a Band-Aid product that you take for one thing. It's an overall increase your body's ability to function. And that's why people that will use it every day, and sometimes even elevated amounts of it, we'll see a variety of things improve. Different things will fix depending on what's going on with them. And it'll be different than someone else because it is quite broad. So here's her summary. AvantGreens is a much more powerful, kind of like a rocket blast off. And therefore, yes, you may feel a difference in some intensely. I remember when we did the study, when we launched it, we had a lot of women who wrote in and said, I'm crying more than normal. That was Debbie. And there were actually a number because they were processing emotions, and those are real, right? They log in physical ways and chemicals in us, and they need to be processed through. When the body can process, we can release those. And so there were different things that people saw, but really it was these 3 aspects that this product was working on. How well do we digest nutrition? How good is our trash patrol, moving things out of the body? And how effectively or how efficiently do we activate and energize nutrition into energy? Because everything that happens, right? Any cleansing, any building, anything that happens in our body requires energy. I'm always fascinated I get reminded in one of the classes that I attend on Thursday night, he'll talk about quantum physics and how you can actually measure is it the hertz of a cell? I can't even remember if that's the full word. Okay, this is not my area. But scientists can tell you when it's below a certain level, they know it's sick. And it gets below another reading, and very frequently it's an abnormal cell issue. So you can actually measure energy level, energy of activity of a cell, and know a lot about its health. So when you improve that, lots of things improve because there's the energy to do it. So that's the interesting thing about this sort of intro that Dr. Allison gives us. Okay, so how does this product do it? Well, it starts with 3 adaptogens: American ginseng, licorice root, which is in a super high percentage of Chinese-based herbal programs and herbal formulas. They use licorice root a ton. And there is some direct misinformation on the internet about it. People worry about it with blood sugar, but that's usually when they've isolated glycerin out of it, glycerides, sorry, some of those, and it's separate, and they call it licorice root, and it's not. It's a portion of licorice root. It's a piece of it that will actually move up blood sugars and cause problems. A balanced and whole licorice root will not do that because it's adaptogenic, and that's actually how you can tell the difference between your material and how quality it is. Then holy basil is the third one. This wonderful ability to calm the central nervous system that holy basil has, and also protect and strengthen the liver function, which is a big part of processing nutrition, right? And detoxification and all sorts of aspects in and out and around that. So these are pretty carefully selected adaptogens, and they're 3 of the most broadly used. I think I'll say it that way, you know? So that's the first group. Second group is this whole list. Like Debbie said, we won't talk through them all today because we'll get pieces of them as we do the segments. But look at these: red raspberry, ginger, sarsaparilla, yellow dock, podiarco, the variety that is purple lapacho, ginkgo biloba, hawthornberry, rosemary, and albizia julibrissin, which is, that's actually not spelled right on there, julibrissin, I think it should be. And it's kind of mimosa tree known as tree of happiness because of all the mood studies. It's a wonderful mood lifter. Okay, that's the transformational blend that's dealing with, think back to these 3 areas that Allison. Okay, the way we absorb and assimilate nutrients, the way we process out and detox, and how good we are at forming energy at the cellular level. Okay, so these are all helpful in those 3 things. And then here is the main group of, let's call them macronutrients in here. A bunch of sprouts. So we have 3 sprouts: alfalfa, quinoa, and amaranth. And then we have 2 sprouted seeds. So you get the seed and the sprout with flax and chia. Those 2 have the seed and the sprout. And there are several reasons for that. The unique blends of nutrients in both, and also a little more fiber. Because in our talk, I think we'll mention it a little bit today, fiber is absolutely key to these 3 objectives. There's also chlorophyll in here, extra chlorophyll added. There is a protease, a protein digestive enzyme called bromelain, ground hemp seed, which is highly nutritious and very diverse in the nutrients that it brings to us. Watercress. It usually shocks people when I tell them, do you know that the most diverse of all the ingredients in here, in terms of the number of different vitamins and active compounds, is actually watercress? That usually it's not as famous. It's highly nutritious, and I like the diversity because it plugs holes, gaps from the foods that we take, more likely to do that, and helps us fix things. So watercress, that was a must-have by Dr. Allison, as we talked about this formula. Some couple of interesting studies she showed us on that. I think they might come out later in one of the other trainings. And then aronia berry, an incredibly high free radical scavenger, much higher than most. And then a great probiotic that does not need to be refrigerated, the Bacillus coagulans. And then monk fruit, which brings all sorts of good, yes, vitamin C and other things, but also natural sweetener with a low glycemic index. So those are the 3 groups. It's a lot of stuff, isn't it? So continuing on to this training, she says, okay, I'm going to jump past this because she just says, look, there's nothing like this product. It's loaded with everything in it. And that's why it's a change everything product. So here's where she starts. Think back to those 3 objectives. How well do we absorb nutrients? Well, these are factors, just a little review for all of us, right? Digestion actually starts in the mouth if we let it, if we let the food stay there for, any period of time. And then we've got stomach acid, and we have bile that produced by the liver, stored in the gallbladder. We have all the enzymes. They are secreted in differing stages, various stages actually, including in the mouth. But then even in the small intestine, et cetera. Then we have this movement that the system is designed to carry this processed food to its stage of absorption, and then reabsorbing as much as we can, because the probiotics, they themselves, even in the colon, will produce vitamins like B12, like K2. Those are manufactured by probiotics as well. And then it's got to move. The trains need to move down the track, or else we have traffic. And if we have traffic, we have inflammation, and we start to reabsorb things in the liver, and we get problems. So we try to avoid traffic, right? If 3 trains come in a day, we better have 3 trains going out, or else there's traffic. So it's a very involved process, right? Chyme is the name for things that start to get digested, right? And it contains all sorts of stuff, including toxins. And then we start to absorb them as we get in the small intestine. And I already mentioned, the pancreas brings things in. These are the details we're not going to necessarily spend too much time on, because really it's just keeping in our mind that it happens in various stages. All of those need to be good. All of those can get compromised. There's a lot of opportunity for us to mess with how well we absorb things and assimilate, okay? So I'm going to jump past that. So how does AvantGreens help then? Well, number 1, it improves your stomach lining. Number 2, it does help with your enzymes. Number 3, it will improve bile, because the liver, a healthy liver, will do better at this. And that's what helps you break down fats. And it is also what we use to carry toxins out of the body, combined with fiber. Don't have fiber, harder to carry them out, easier to reabsorb them. So bile is huge in all of this, and we need to have the track running. Train's got to be moving down the track, right? So here's back to those ingredients we talked about earlier. These ingredients do a lot of different things. She's just pointing out in this training today what things they do on this topic, okay? So I wanted to point that out, because if you know some of these, and I think you guys do, you'll know other things they do for us. But she's just talking about what they do in this with respect to this. Look at that. It soothes inflamed tissue, stops spasms. It can heal duodenal or ulcers in the small intestine and in the stomach. It's anti-inflammatory. It relieves upset. It does promote movement of the trains down the track. So this is pretty important. Licorice, I think I understand why the Chinese put it in everything. I'm just reading this. Why wouldn't you? It's if you're getting it pure, right? American ginseng, many other uses in this farm, but it's still a digestive strengthener. A true adaptogen always does some modulating of our metabolism and how that whole process of transforming nutrients to energy. And then ginger's in here. It can relax cramping, relieve gas, protecting from heartburn. In other words, loosening of the lower, preventing loosening of the lower sphincter. I'm not sure if the upper as well, if it protects from heartburn, it probably does. Antibacterial, it helps. There are enzymes in ginger. I'm not sure I knew that. I learned that one here. I never really thought of ginger as this enzyme source, and yet it does have enzymes to help absorb. Improves intestinal acid, helps reduce diarrhea, and the list goes on. Ginger's well studied, right? Well documented in this. Holy basil, I already mentioned this. Did not know until this training that it does help our mucus protection. That layer that keeps the internal tissue from allowing inside what shouldn't be allowed inside. I'm talking about into the bloodstream or the lymph and into cells, and keeping out, so keeping out what should stay out, but also allowing in the nutrients. It needs to be semi-permeable, right? But look what holy basil does. It does all of that in addition to the things I mentioned about calming the central nervous system and supporting the liver. It does have a role in this digestive process too. Yellow dock is very famous for stimulating the digestive process, one that gets sluggish. It gets sluggish in all of us as we age, or it can, depending on how we care for ourselves. You can make it, you can notice, I don't know about you, I've noticed, especially in recent years, when I do better at my supplemental nutrition, I feel a huge difference in like good, healthy hunger pains coming on. Whereas when I'm not, you don't seem as hungry, and then after you do eat, you don't seem to get as much energy. The whole process is compromised. Well, yellow dock is actually a really good one. And it's why it's in here to help with that. And then you have the sprouts that I talked about, because they're high in omegas. Debbie mentioned that. They are, they have a lot of omega-3s in particular. So look at all the things that omega-3s do. We know they do. Really, they're involved in about everything. They're just a super important food. Let's call them a food group. And then you have hawthorn. We all know hawthorn because it's so heart strengthening, right? But it does have a role too in helping our probiotics flourish. The Chinese used it as a digestive tonic. That was one of their main uses for it. There are some anti-parasitic compounds in it, and it's been shown to help with ulcers and damaged mucus protection in the gastrointestinal system. So hawthorns, it's quite amazing, isn't it? These berries. Red raspberry. This one we love because look at what it does here in terms of cramping and aching and these digestive and other problems, but also it's an astringent. So it will tone our tissue. It will strengthen it and make it, balance it is a good way of putting it. Make it have the properties that it should have so that things function as they're supposed to. And then I already mentioned the enzymes to help and additional probiotics to introduce into our system. Why do they do that? Well, they all have their key roles. This particular probiotic has been studied for these things that you see on there, the Bacillus coagulans, pain and bloating in particular, biofilms, okay, that's a real problem. Acidity in there, most probiotics help in that. Producing butyric acid, relieving diarrhea. So these are some of the things that, these are simply summaries of various studies of it. And then you've also got these other three that I mentioned earlier that are good anti-inflammatories and actually do play a role in digestion besides the other good things they do. So she's kind of saying, look, these ingredients, though they have multiple functions, most of them, if not all of them, to some degree are involved in improving the way we assimilate and digest and process nutrition. If we can do that, then everything we do is much more effective, right? All of the programs that we're on, and like Debbie said, we make different food choices, and we don't have to be perfect, but we can improve a little here and there, and we're going to feel a difference because our system's going to respond much better. So a couple words about bile from Dr. Allison. She put extra attention on bile because it's so important for the absorption of certain vitamins. It's not going to happen if we can't break down fats, and these fats are components to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. They need to be in a certain form, in other words. We can't just have them and think we've got it covered. So bile helps it break it down so that both the lymph and the blood can deliver these to our brain. We don't always think of the lymph as a deliverer of benefits and nutrients because it's this great purifier, right? But it also does some of that. So bile is incredibly key. I mean, look at this slide and you're going, yep, okay. Yeah, I got to make sure my liver's good. And that I also have a healthy gallbladder. So look at this, bile also is a buffer against too much acidity from stomach acid. It actually will keep the gallbladder the less congested if you have more bile flow. It's not like you're going to congest it. It's the opposite. So bile's pretty interesting. AvantGreens has a number of herbs that are known to stimulate the liver, which is producing bile, and the gallbladder, which is storing it, right? All of this is a group, and there are more, but these are the main, at least in Dr. Allison's opinion, these are the main impetus behind improved bile flow with AvantGreens. And here's the part I mentioned earlier, fiber. You need it with the bile to escort the bad stuff out of our body. And that's why people, if you've tried AvantGreens, maybe everybody here's tried them, they're a little chunky, okay? That's the sprouts and the oh, what do you call them? The sprouted seeds. It's funny because we were doing this in Spanish yesterday, and there's a different word in Spanish for the sprouted seed versus just a sprout. But we do need that fiber. That's why we wanted to make sure we included that as well. Why? For this exact reason, to improve our trash patrol, if you want to call it that. So that's the first training. She goes on and will tell some really interesting things, because Debbie, I think you mentioned thyroid and glandular balancing. That's another training.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love about this product is, you know, what I love about Soul, and we have mentioned this in the past, is that you can rotate in products.
Yeah.
A great one to rotate in. Is part of the 4th month. So if you're looking at the 4 months to health, and you look at the 1st month is balance, the 2nd and 3rd month are giving attention to detoxing, right? And improving our lymphatic system by doing a deep detox. I think the reason why you put it in this program, in the nutrition program, is because now your body, after it's totally cleansed and really cleansed well, your body can actually absorb nutrition better. And what I love about combining it with the Soul Complete, and again, my hat off to Dr. Allison and all of your team, Blake, you, all of the great minds that put these formulas together, is that Soul Complete, if you just take it by itself as a meal replacement, you know, you can add fruit and stuff. It's great for healing the gut, right? Leaky gut. But when you combine it with AvantGreens and everything, all of these herbs that we looked at, like hawthorn berry, which is a tonic, hawthorn berry historically used for the heart because it's a great tonic. It keeps muscles nice and firm and moving and working well. But then you look at something like yellow dock, right? Which helps the production of bile, but also serves as a tonic, and it's a good cleansing agent when you're sick. Like I remember in the Dominican Republic, all I had available to me while I was there was yellow dock. And I had probably eaten a bad coconut on the road or so. I don't know what it was. I just got really sick. Yellow dock was amazing to help me because it stimulates the digestive system. But when you look at all of those herbs, so you've got yellow dock, you've got ginseng, you've got pau d'arco. Pau d'arco, historically known for killing abnormal cell growth in the body without using the C word, can help keep that in check. But when you think about people today, children with ADHD, people who suffer from autoimmune disease, almost always goes back to leaky gut syndrome. AvantGreens, because it's so gut healing and because it regulates the mucus lining. And it helps to strengthen the intestinal walls. This is a great product. It can also be used by people of any age. And I will start the testimonial section by saying that a few months ago, Lon Hudman asked me to find a leader in my group who was having great success with AvantGreens. Her name is Teresa Alcaraz, and she's in California. And Teresa had a lady come into her shop and said, my granddaughter is getting in trouble at the preschool. And Teresa looked at her and she goes, is she a little overactive? Well, she likes to talk a lot and she runs around, and she goes, I would just say, what's her nutrition like? What does she like to eat? And of course, she didn't like anything. So Tere recommended that the 3-year-old start using AvantGreens with the Soul Vital and mix it together. And she had it every morning before she went to school. And a week later, her preschool teacher said, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what you did, but she has learned manners and she is just so calm and so happy." And when you look at the mood enhancing herbs in here, and again, cleaning the gut and teaching a child, developing their palate when they're young to good nutrition, makes such a change in how their brains function. And so that stayed with me, because when I think of AvantGreens, I think immediately of liver support because of holy basil. I think of, you know, all of the support for the gallbladder and the bile, and because I know bile is important and I know fiber is important. This is a great source of fiber. It's a great source of omega, which means it's great for brain function and brain development. So now you're seeing a 3-year-old using this product, but you could also see a pregnant mom using it, right? You see the variety in it, but you can also see someone who's geriatric and not getting a lot of good nutrition because they can't right now process foods. And you mix this with the Soul Complete, or you can mix it with the Soul Vital, and it tastes amazing. And now you're getting fiber and you're getting good nutrition because it's just jam-packed with good nutrition. And you just go, there's a versatile product that I can use for anyone of any age. I did say Jaliva had a good story. I'm not going to put you on the spot because we are running short on time. But if you feel like you want to share, unmic, or Joanne, if you feel like you want to share something really quick, open your mic. If not, just say, Debbie, I pass, and I'll catch you next time. Next time? Okay. Joanne, next time? Okay, great. Well, you know what? It's been a great discussion. I'm just so happy we had it. We're going to study this product in 3 parts. I'm so excited for you to learn more about this because it is a great add-on. If you happen to run out of your omegas and can't find it, like I mentioned off camera, this will be a great support. Another product that can help you because of high quantity of omegas 3, 6, and 9 is also our Infatuate product, which we will study when we're done with AvantGreens, because I really want you to know all of your options at Soul, and there are many options at Soul. And I love you all for sharing and for being here this week. I thank you, Greg. You're my brother. You mean the world to me. I appreciate everything that you share and the time and effort that you put into supporting our group. Sarah and Gloria, welcome back. Sarah, Gloria, I hope you felt a lot of love today, and I hope you learned something new. I'm just so happy for all of you. I love you all, and thank you for sharing.
No, thank you for the information. Thank you.
Okay, everybody.